Welcome to meetup number 148 for May 2025. Right. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet this evening. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. So, welcome to, what is it, the May AWS user group meetup. Kick things off with a brief coverage of our code of conduct. For those of you who have been here before, this is nothing new. For everybody else, always good to listen. We are here to learn. We are here to listen to each other, respect each other's opinions, views, all of those sorts of things. The TLDR of this is treat others the way you want to be treated. The official code of conduct is up on the website if anybody has any questions. If you have a concern regarding the code of conduct or have anything like that, feel free to come to Rob or myself and we'll help deal with it. Right, again, for those of you who haven't been here before, AWS user group, Melbourne, yay! We are on a number of platforms, not so much Mastodon anymore. That didn't really happen as much as we thought it might have. We are available on YouTube. We are actually live streaming on YouTube. We are also available on LinkedIn. We have the website, melbourne.awsug.org.au, and please don't forget to talk to us on Slack, which wasn't the next slide. I thought I teed that up pretty well. Damn. Okay. First thing tonight, introductions. You get to listen to me for a little bit. Aren't you all very, very lucky? After that, we'll hand over to the What's New. Not me, thankfully. We'll then kick things over to Trent, who is going to give us a walkthrough of building a secure container pipeline with Amazon Inspector and GitHub Actions. After that, we have Kathy coming up to talk about building blocks of the cloud, AWS architecture through the lens of a home. So those should be good sessions. We'll wrap out this evening like we normally do with our marketplace, have a little bit of a conversation about who's hiring, who might be looking, those sorts of things. And we will wrap up 8 o'clock so that everybody has a chance to get home at a reasonable time before it gets ridiculously cold outside. As I said before, we are available on Slack. I'm going to move these slides around so that I don't stuff up my intro next time, but that's okay. Particularly the Melbourne channel, talk, interact, chat. We have the volunteers channel, we have the random channel. Feel free to talk about whatever you want. Obviously, we have the outages channel as well. If you are curious about anything when it comes to AWS outage time, feel free to come and complain like the rest of us do. Unless, of course, the outage is so bad that it takes down Slack and then we can all just sit there twiddling our thumbs and go home for the day. And also chat to us live tonight on YouTube in the live stream. Rob will make sure that any questions that get caught in those are brought up so that we can answer them. We would like to thank our gold sponsor, Mantel Group. Without our sponsors, these things would not be able to go ahead. We wouldn't be able to put on the food, the drink, and all those sorts of things. So thank you, Mantel Group, for being our gold sponsor for the course of 2025, and Sevo for being our silver sponsor. Also wouldn't be complete if we didn't thank our host, NAB, for giving us the venue for the year. So thank you very much to NAB for the fine space and everything they do in making sure that the seats are laid out, the tables are available, and all those sorts of things. In case you haven't picked up on the fact that I've said it 3 times now, Slack, come, talk to us, all that sorts of stuff. This is a community event. We are always on the lookout for new people. Come up, speak. We had a session a couple of months ago talking about first-time speakers, the opportunity to get up, give a presentation on something you've done, something you've looked at, something you've experienced. Always keen to hear from people who want to give a talk. You can, again, come talk to Rob, talk to myself, reach out to us on Slack, or there is a form on the website if you'd rather fill it out that way. Sponsors. We are always looking for more sponsors. The more sponsors we have, the more things that we can do for the community. Be that, bring in interstate or international speakers, put on events, run competitions, whatever the case may be. If your organisation is looking for a fun, hip, Melbourne-based activity to sponsor, feel free to come and talk to me and I will tell you how I can take your money. Volunteer organisers. Every month, there's obviously a bunch of stuff that needs to be done. There's things like the What's New segment that needs to be brought together. There's this slide pack. There's social media. There's a whole bunch of other bits and pieces. If you find yourself with some free time, if you're sitting around going, I wonder what I want to do with my life, feel free. Come again, talk to Rob, talk to myself. We will give you work. We have plenty of work for you to do. There are lots of things that we'd like to do that we just don't have time to do. The website could do with some love. We could do some more graphic stuff. There's some more social media stuff. There's some events. There's some fun things we can build. We just need some hands to help us with that. So if you're wanting to chip in or help or anything like that, please feel free to come talk to us. Bum, ba, bum. We are not the only game in town, however. We are just one of many things that are happening. So next week, hands up if anybody's going to Sydney next week for Sydney Summit. Woo! Yay. All right, so Summit, Sydney, the big annual hobnob for AWS, Darling Harbour, Sydney next week. Wednesday and Thursday? I should probably know that if I'm going. Also, anybody going to Philadelphia to reinforce? Maybe, yes, no? Okay. If you are interested, reinforce their annual security focus conference, Philadelphia in a couple of weeks. So if you haven't already, there you go. And Community Day. So AWS Community Day Australia. This is a one-day conference event put on by the AWS community. People like us that just use AWS and want to put on a good one-day conference that people can sort of come along and listen to other members of the community come and talk about what it is they're doing with AWS, what they're building, all those sorts of fun bits and pieces. It is in the Brisbane Convention Centre on the 15th of August. The CFP is currently open until Saturday. So if you've ever wanted to speak at a community day, ever wanted to have a chance at putting on a presentation, scan the QR code or come and talk to myself and I'll give you the details. It closes on Saturday, so please don't leave it to the last minute. There are lots and lots of people, there's lots of work that we then need to do to, QA them. So if that's something you're interested in, jump on it. Also, in a couple of weeks, on the 19th of June, we have the serverless meetup at the Mantel office down on Flinders Street. We've got Dave Hall this month and Michael Walmsley giving some presentations on Q and serverless AI. So, interested in the serverless land in AWS space, serverless meetup, Thursday, 19th June, 6 o'clock. Nice and easy. All right, that seems to be all of the events for this month, and I will pass over to the What's New. I can give you a microphone, and I will mute myself so you don't need to listen to me in the process.
Hi guys, I'm Hazra. I'll be presenting on What's New in AWS. I hope I make it as interactive as Matt and funny as well. Let's see. All right, so for Melbourne, what do we have? Amazon RDS cross-region automated backups between Melbourne and Sydney. We have AWS WOF enhanced rate-based rules and S3 tables, EC2 X2 IDN instances. Yeah, and configuration rules as well, finally. And for Sydney, we have the Amazon Connect for WhatsApp business messaging and SMS, SageMaker, Hyperpool, flexible training plans, Claude, Sonnet 3.7 and 4. Databases, yeah, I'm pretty sure most of you are interested in this one. RDS now supports easy retrieval of engine cycle, lifecycle support dates. And Aurora Global Database introduces support for up to 10 secondary region clusters. For compute, we have EC2 makes it easy to launch Windows instances with EC2 fast launch, interesting. And EC2 Mac instances now support configurable system, integrity protection, which is SIP settings. Containers. CloudWatch application signals introduces auto monitor support for EKS workloads, and also EKS dashboards, a multi-cluster view of Cabinet's infrastructure across AWS regions and organizations. ECS increases container exit reason message to 1024 characters. Machine learning, those of us who are so interested in doing so much about this. We have Bedrock model distillation is now generally available, and Q Developer announces a new agentic code experience in the IDE. We have the code editor as well, based in VS Code, open source in Amazon, SageMaker, Unified Studio as well, and Bedrock guardrails, which we always need guardrails, yep, now supports cross-region inference. Bedrock data automation, supporting generating custom insights from videos, and Amazon Bedrock agents metrics in CloudWatch, as well as the Cloud4 Foundation models now in Amazon Bedrock. Networking, yes, finally. New AWS Direct Connect location in Brisbane, Australia. Hopefully we get that in Melbourne as well. Dev and Ops, most of us are obviously devs here, most likely. So Systems Manager adds customization options for onboarding configuration. AWS Control Tower introduces account level reporting for baseline APIs. We have the code build adds support for new IAM conditions keys, as well as the VPC adds the CloudTrail logging for VPC resources created by default. And cost detection enables the advanced alerting through AWS user notification. I think this is a very interesting one. The control tower also releases enable controls view for centralized visibility. It's nice to have visibility of what is happening. Some other things, we have Amazon Connect launches, administrator access for agent schedules. We have the Deadline Cloud Service Managed Fleet now supporting configuration scripts. Transform for VMware is generally available, and migration assessment capabilities of AWS Transform. Deadline Cloud Monitor now supports multiple languages, so it's not limited to just one. And some of the service changes that's going on and closing access to new customers is Amazon Time Stream for live analytics closing access on the June 20th this year, not far away. And just bunch of other services which will be changing. So if you or your company is actually using some of these, they might not be available. So it's always good to have a relook. And it's only for like new accepting customers, and yeah. Cool. So I think that is all for what's new. Oh yeah, we have a question.
I just noticed a couple of days the NoSQL workbench, which is a downloadable tool that allows you to design DynamoDB databases and inspect databases that you have that exist in AWS region. Very cool kit.
Oh yeah, thank you. Nice to note. Awesome. So I think that was all for what's new, and I think I'll pass it over to our first speaker. Is it? No?
Yes.
Yeah. Trent?
Trent.
Oh. Thank you, guys.
And I got to turn that on. So bear with me. This is probably going to be a bit fast and loose. So please give me some feedback after this to help me nail the summit talk that I'm doing. There's a speaker before me that apparently is going to be better, that's going to bring all the people, and then hopefully people stick around for my talk. Anyway, so the talk's on building a secure container pipeline with Amazon Inspector. All right, so I'm Trent Hornibrook. I'm a cloud architect, and today I want to talk about container security, a solution to minimize risk using Amazon Inspector with GitHub Actions, and talk about a few other ways to improve your security posture and some cool new tech. So there was an interesting stat from 2023. It's pretty scary. There's a lot of insecure stuff that's running in the wild in containers. And I really see that there's 4 key areas that we need to focus on when it comes to container security. So firstly, we need to verify that our upstream code libraries and base containers are safe and secure. We need a way to verify that only the appropriate containers are running. And when there's a 0-day, we need to be able to quickly identify where we're exposed so that we can respond. And fourth, we always write secure code, but sometimes we don't, so maybe we need a bit of help. So firstly, and for the bulk of this talk, I want to talk about the first item, which is the upstream code libraries and base containers, and introduce a little-known GitHub Action plugin called Vulnerability Scan GitHub Action for Amazon Inspector. So the plugin scans a build container and generates a Cyclone DX software build of materials of that container artifact. That SBOM is then sent to Amazon Inspector, who checks that SBOM against a vulnerability database and returns back a risk score. So it works with common languages and common Linux distributions. So this is the way I like to use it in my world. So whenever there's an application change, I perform some tests, those tests pass, I package up the container, I then perform I trigger a vulnerability scan GitHub Action for Amazon Inspector, that's a tongue twister, with a risk posture. And then if it meets my risk threshold, I publish that to ECR and then do a deployment. If it doesn't, break the build, tell me why. Okay, so let's see it in action. I'm going to play a video. So this is the hero of the show. This is the GitHub Action. Is the video started? Yep. Okay, so I've got a GitHub repo, got a Git repo. It's a Python Flask-based API with some unit tests. So this is my repo. It's public. I've got my app.py. It's just a Flask app with some routes. Not doing too much. And then I got some unit tests. That's just doing TDD. I'm trying to be good. So these are my tests. And then I've got a Docker file. So I'm doing a multi-stage build here in Docker. So I'm using Python 3.9 as my base container. I'm running my test, PyTest, and then I'm taking that app output and then generating a container on the back of that. So within this Git repo, I've got a lot of auxiliary items like an ECR repo, ECS, VPC, DNS, a lot of stuff. And I've got a lot of auxiliary GitHub actions that drive this repo. But simply, if you're on a branch, run the tests, do a code security scan, and then tell me if it's good or not. But if you're on master, if that scan succeeds, then do a deployment. So this is my pipeline. The main step is the center one, which is the building the container and scanning, and then doing a deployment of that container to ECS. Okay, so let's look at 2 things. So firstly, let's look at a green build. Okay, that is not what I expected to see. Let's just pause real quick. Okay, so let me go over my GitHub Action pipeline here. So at the very start of that GitHub Action pipeline, I've got some environment variables that define my risk threshold. So I've got a high risk threshold, a medium, a low risk threshold. So in my pipeline, I take that, I then check out my code, I publish to the build output my current risk posture. I then log into AWS. I then do a Docker build. So I do my build, then I do my scan with Inspector with that risk threshold. I then output the results of my scan to the build output. I then fail the build if that exceeds my risk threshold, and if it doesn't, and I'm on master, then I push that image to ECR. Cool, okay, so yeah, let me look at two examples. So this is the green build, so things are working. So this is the output of my build. This is the risk threshold that I had. Amazon inspectors run, and then it's come back with that risk threshold, and that is within my tolerance. So it's a green build, so that's good. So let's look at a red build. I've got an alternate branch here. I've got an alternate risk threshold in this specific branch. It's red, it's broken. That's my risk threshold, and these are my scan results. Also within the build output, I see the CVEs of what this has triggered. So then I can dive into these CVEs and then figure out what to do and put things back into my risk tolerance level. Cool, so and then just diving into the build. It's a red build, it fails, so that's good. I don't want to deploy something that's insecure. So if I go back into my container pipeline here, at the very start, I define my thresholds for this repo. I like to do this because for new repos, I want to set a really aggressive threshold. I want really tight security, but it doesn't really work for legacy-based workloads. So with this method, I can then have a looser risk threshold for legacy-based workloads and then course correct along the way. Okay, so how can I raise the bar? How can I improve this even more? So the way I like to do this is to do scheduled builds, so daily builds, or actually in this example, I'm doing hourly builds. So 0 days occur in the future, and by having scheduled builds, scheduled daily builds, where my CI system will then tell me in the future if I'm now running insecure containers or upstream libraries. So I'm pushing left by security posture. Okay, let's raise the bar even further. I like to use this plugin in GitHub called RenovateBot. RenovateBot is a dependency management system. It looks at what I'm running, what libraries I'm running, and then it offers updates to those running containers. So running libraries. So this is just a simple configuration. It's just out-of-the-box configuration of RenovateBot. So RenovateBot then has picked up that I'm running Docker 3.9, and it reckons I should be running Docker Python 3.12, 3.13 rather. And RenovateBot has submitted a PR for me. And so I've got all of these things working together. So my build is fired, my tests are running, Amazon inspectors kicked in and checked to see if Python 3.13 works, which it does. So that's good. So let's wrap this up. I've installed the vulnerability scan GitHub action for Amazon Inspector. I've configured a risk-based threshold within my pipeline for my workload. I've configured RenovateBot for GitHub to look at my dependencies and then update those dependencies when they can. And I'm doing scheduled builds so that when a 0 day does occur, my CI system is telling me whether my code is vulnerable or not. Cool. Okay, so that's Inspector. It's pretty cheap. It's 1 cent to perform a scan. Super cheap. And if you're quick enough to look at that build output, it took about 10 seconds to execute that scan. So super quick, but that is going to be commensurate to the size of the container that gets scanned. And I shared a recommendation on how you could adopt this for new-based workloads and also legacy-based workloads. Okay, so let's move on to ensuring we're only running the appropriate containers. And I'll mention quickly 3 options that I can think of. So first is, and I'm going to speed through this pretty quick. One way is you can put the control within your container scheduler like ECS or EKS and say you can only pull containers from a VPC endpoint. And then you can specify within your container registry that you can only accept traffic from that VPC endpoint. Another way is if you had egress traffic controls, you could implement, say, network firewall and implement rules to say, let's block Docker Hub within network firewall. It can be quite cumbersome. And a third way, which is similar to the second, is you can implement Route 53 DNS resolver. There's many other ways to block where you can pull containers from, and each of them have pros and cons. Okay, so what about container posture and then identifying what I'm currently running so I can respond quicker? So my general go-to here is to use the container scanning within Amazon Inspector that occurs after an ECR push. So while the engine is the same to the workflow I mentioned earlier, the engine is the same, the workflow is quite different. So you push to ECR, then a scan occurs after that, as opposed to doing this within GitHub Actions. I also like to push all of that data over to a CSPM product like AWS Security Hub. So Security Hub will then give me a single pane of glass of everything. But I like to use this as a backstop process, a view of the current environment, and instead prefer to push all of my cloud security responsibility to the CI system. So emphasis on daily builds and then using my CI system to tell me if I'm running secure code or not. So here's a couple of screens. The one on the left is Amazon Inspector, that's the output. And then the one on the right is that data being aggregated over to Security Hub. If you're in the security team, you probably want a CSPM tool. So Security Hub is probably a good starting point if you don't have anything. Okay, lastly, I want to talk about code. And we all write secure code, but sometimes we don't. So I want to introduce a new feature that was launched last month that didn't actually make it to the list. It's called Amazon Q Developer in GitHub. So this is in preview. It was launched last month in preview. And I want to show you this quick demo. And this demo is going to go quite quick, so bear with me. So this is my IDE, and I've got my IDE loaded up, and this is my Flask-based app. And so I've been doing all of this vibe coding like all the cool kids. And so I got this prompt, and basically the prompt says, write me some insecure code, but hide it, and make sure the tests pass. So that's my prompts. So my vibe coder is going to go away and do some stuff, so it looks like it's making some code changes now. And so, okay, I run my tests, they pass, and I'm like, all right, cool, looks good to me. Let's push this, let's ship it. So I create a branch, push it, create a PR. This is me creating a PR. So Amazon launched Amazon Q Developer last month. It's a GitHub plugin. You can configure it and point it to your GitHub repo. There's some cool features. One of the cool features that this plugin does provide is it performs automated code security reviews or code reviews. So this is my PR. It looks like Amazon Q Developer has kicked in and is going to look at my code. Meanwhile, I'll go back to my build. So my build is running, my tests are running. And Amazon Inspector has kicked in and it's looking at my build output as well. And Amazon Inspector is saying, well, it doesn't meet any bad threshold. It looks pretty good to me. But if I get back into my PR, Q developers come back in and said, hang on, there's some critical security vulnerabilities that you've shipped, that you've pushed. And it will provide this detail in the comments of the PR. And so the way Q developer works in this scenario is that it will respond, and then it will do a second pass and propose code changes. So if I refresh the page now, it's now provided me with some code snippets on how that secure code cannot be secure. So I won't go into too much more detail about Q Developer and Q Developer for GitHub. Suffice to say, this is just a configuration that I made to allow Q Developer to look at my code base, and I'm getting more data about my code quality, which I think is a good thing. And so that's a very quick snippet on Q Developer in GitHub. Cool, okay, so I talked about 4 key areas that we need to focus on when it comes to container security. Firstly, Amazon Inspector with GitHub can help look at your code libraries and base containers and make sure that they're safe and secure. Controls like VPC endpoints, network filtering, can make sure that only the containers you trust are running. AWS Security Hub can provide a good view of your current environment, but I like to only use this as a backstop process and instead push the process to the CI system using daily builds. And lastly, I shared a quick demo of Amazon Q Developer and how it can help you write some secure code. So this is an alarming stat. 87% of containers are bad, but hopefully now I've given you some tools and some ideas on how you cannot be a part of that stat. And that's my talk. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Oh, that's loud.
Do you by chance know the mechanisms that hackers will use to hack the images and how they'll extract the data out of it?
That's very, well, I'm good.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Just by chance.
Why do you want to? Why do you want to be a black hatter or a white hatter?
No, I just asked out of curiosity by chance. Just curious. Because I think we have SQL attacks like SQL injection
Yep.
and I think there's some method by which the hacker continuously does a lot of guessworks to log into the system. Something
Yeah,
like that.
if you're doing a query string with a URL, you're trying to escape out and see if you can get data back, then that's unexpected, and then you can see if there's some vulnerability there. But it's a huge topic, cloud security.
No, thank you.
I think what's really important is that making sure you keep things up to date, which is really where Amazon Inspector comes in and saying, these are the critical or high vulnerabilities. Here's some ways you can patch that. As long as you keep all of your security up to date, you're in a better position than what you would be otherwise. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, okay, a few questions. For code review and the capabilities of this review, is there at least what kind of vulnerabilities it could pick up? And
It's pretty unclear because it's unclear what the underlying model is. So I know that AWS have some. They're either using their own models like Nova or they're using Sonnet 3.7. So it's unclear, and it comes back to what those models are, and then what the prompt is that Amazon Q is providing behind the scenes. So yeah.
So don't you think we can fall into a situation when we are using code Q developer at some stage and we tick the box that our code is secure when actually it's not?
Yep. No, I agree. But at the same point, if I'm if I'm by myself and I've got like a small startup, at least now I've got something that I didn't have otherwise. I think there's also there's a bigger conversation around the use of generative AI in terms of with the developer. So you can use it to assist you, and I think but there's some big trade-offs, particularly if you're a junior developer. So you might be a junior developer using Cursor to do stuff, and you're like, I'm shipping stuff, but you really don't have any idea about what's been shipped, and therefore whether it's architecturally sound or it can be extended or not. So that's a really dangerous thing that has arisen now. But equally, from a senior developer, you might be tied up in syntactical issues, and you're using an LLM just to get to the next level. So that's cool. So if anything, I do worry what this means for junior people in the industry. And unless we're cultivating that knowledge to juniors, it's going to be pretty hard in 2 to 3 years, in my view.
So you're actually treating it as a code quality improvement, not a security guardrail.
Yeah. So my comments are more about the use of like Gen AI for code development. I think you should to use these tools, get exposure to these tools, and then have a sobering view of where you can use them and what their value is, and where those blind spots of those tools are. But again, yeah, this is more data than what I had otherwise, so maybe that's a good thing. There's an interesting PR that made its way to Reddit, I think a couple of days ago. Microsoft are using LLMs to do code reviews or identify security vulnerabilities. And there was this GitHub thread that has about 200 comments. That's just all junk coming from the LLM. So, yeah, I think, yeah, in my view, more information is good, but you got to be conscious of the signal to noise.
Thanks. One last one.
Oh, hi. So just wondering, like, if the inspector detects a vulnerable package and suggests like a new and higher version to upgrade to, does it consider like if the new version is like incompatible with, say, another package? Say that other package has to also be upgraded to a certain version?
No, not really. No, not really. So Inspector, all Inspector's going to do is going to say this is vulnerable and that's it, and then it's your job to reconcile that. Renovate, by contrast, it has an ability to look at all of your dependencies and propose changes, and then with that change, it provides a rating score about whether peers are using this, and then the likelihood of that passing their tests. So it gives you a rating score about how easy this, how likely how risky it is. So Renovate Bot is probably a better solution, is with a good accompanying solution for that dependency management and to identify and minimize any breakage for other dependencies.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trent.
All right, thank you.
Either one.
Hey, why it's not showing anything? Oh, okay. Is this already? Okay. How to do this? Change. My God, I don't know. Oh, I want to use extend. Oh no, this is the my CFO, not the. Yeah, and the other one. Yeah, this one. Oh, finally. Wait. Uh, good evening, everyone. Welcome to my talk. Today, I will take you on a journey to build a system in the cloud by comparing that to something we all know, building a house. So in case if you don't know me, I will briefly introduce myself. My name is Kathy. I'm currently working at Mental Group, who is a gold sponsor to this event. Woohoo! And I'm working there as a senior cloud consultant, specialized in AWS. Prior to that, I worked as a DevOps engineer in an insurance company. I have worked in other jobs as well, so such as BA and PM. And if you have any questions about changing your careers, you can talk to me after the talk. So apart from my work, I'm a co-organizer of Women in Cloud. Have you heard of this? Yeah, awesome. So we started last year trying to build a safe place for women to empower and support each other in cloud computing. So we just had an event not long ago, and we will have another event coming up in June, so stay tuned. So when we think about building a system in the cloud, the process isn't too different from building a home. First, we gather requirements, just like asking the homeowner, how many bedrooms and bathrooms do you want? Do you want a swimming pool? Do you want a home cinema? In AWS, this is where we talk to stakeholders and define business needs. Next, we move into the design phase. This is like sketching your floor plan, where the room goes, how the plumbing and electricity are laid out. For AWS, that means choosing services. How will networking be handled? What compute do we need? And what kind of data storage? And if do we need any security controls? Finally, we build. We pull the foundation, frame the structure, and bring to life. In AWS, this is an implementation stage, provisioning infrastructure, deploying services, and connecting everything together. Let's consider this scenario. Imagine you have a client that is an e-commerce company. Suppose you have talked to the client and get the following requirements. First one is good customer experience. And then you want your customer data is stored and transmitted securely. You also want downtime should be minimal. And you want the system can handle bursts of high demands. Last but not least, you want the cost to be minimal. So actually, these requirements, you'll find that they correspond to different pillars in well-architected framework. After getting these requirements, what do we do now? Design. So AWS has developed a lot of services, right? And look at this. It looks very overwhelming, isn't it? So where should we start then? A house has many parts. A piece of land, walls, rooms, security, etc. Likewise, AWS systems are built from networking, compute, storage, and more. So maybe we can design by selecting appropriate services from each category. Let's look at networking first. Every home needs land and a boundary. In AWS, that's your VPC, your private space in the cloud. Just like you subdivide your land with fences or rooms, you create subnets, public and private. Public subnet is like a front yard. People from outside can see it or enter it. And private subnets are interior rooms behind the walls. Your home would have an address, just like Route 53, telling us how to find you. Once the foundation is set, we build rooms. These are our compute services. A bedroom might be an EC2 instance, tailored and always there. And a spare room might be an Lambda function, used on demand and serving different purposes. And speaking of storage, think of EBS like a closet. It's attached to your room, and then that's it, EC2. It's fast to access and used for things you need often. And S3 is like a garage. It's more spacious and slightly further away, and it's great for storing all kinds of stuff you still use regularly. And Glacier is the attic, long-term storage for things you really need but I want to keep, like archives or old logs. Security isn't an afterthought, it's part of the design. Have you seen any house without locks? You need security in the cloud too. Think of KMS as the keys to your home. Of course, not everyone should have a copy of the keys. That's where IAM, Identity and Access Management, comes in. IAM is like a homeowner deciding who gets the key and what rooms they can enter. Now, within the house, you can also control access to specific rooms. That's what a security group does. They're like individual bedroom lock. Finally, imagine if you hired a security guard at the front door, someone checking IDs and blocking suspicious behaviors before it ever gets near your door. That's AWS Web, the web application firewall. Now let's talk about data, where we store it and how we organize it. In a home, important information like medical records, receipts, usually go into filing cabinets. They are organized, structured, and easy to search through. This is what RDS is like, a relational database for structured, highly organized data. However, not everything in your home needs that level of structure. For things like toys, tools, you might just toss them into label boxes. That's DynamoDB, a fast, flexible key value store where you know what's inside by the label, but you don't need a rigid structure. Now let's look at how different parts of your home or your system communicate with each other. Sometimes, in a busy household, people write things down on a whiteboard, like buy milk, walk the dog, call the plumber. This is like SQS, a queue where tasks wait until someone picks up. This is asynchronous. On the other hand, an intercom system lets you broadcast a message instantly. You can shout out, dinner's ready, emergency is in the kitchen. That's SNS, a publish subscribe service that sends out messages to multiple recipients at once. Modern homes often have some cool features. So CloudTrail is like security camera footage. It records everything. Who came in, what they did, and when, helping you investigate issues. And CloudWatch is your smart home dashboard. It monitors temperature, energy use, and alerts you if anything's off, just like CloudWatch tracks performance and health of your systems. A CloudFormation is like your architectural blueprint. So with that, everyone can build the same system or home. So far, we have gone through key services of networking, compute, storage, database, and so on. If we put this together, we would get a relatively complete home or system. Still remember the business problem that we're going to solve? Yeah, e-commerce platform. So the final design would look like this. Oh, can I see it clearly? So at the top, users, At the top, users access the site via these URLs. Route 53 handles domain name resolution. Traffic is protected by WAF and Shield. The app runs in a secure, isolated environment called a VPC. Load balancers in public subnets distribute traffic to web servers. Here, auto-scaling group can help us achieve the scalability goal. Web tier is also called presentation tier as well. So the app tier handles business logic, and they run in private subnets. In some designs, we put web servers and app servers in the same subnets, or just put them in the same machine, forming a 3-tier architecture. So about DB tier. So we use RDS to store the data. Okay, let's look at other services used here. So we use S3 to store static assets and backups. Remember that we have a requirement on performance, right? So we have CDN, we have CloudFront to speed up content delivery globally. And we also have Elastic Cache to speed up data access. To ensure high availability, you can add another availability zone. EC2 under the auto-scaling group are spread across availability zones.